Hi, welcome to the Connection Podcast. I am Lauren Dry, also known as the Connection Catalyst. Connection and this podcast for me is personal. As a driven professional, I found myself an expert in all things work and business, but it was at home that I really needed clarity and ease. After finally finding it, one marriage breakdown and one marriage reset later, and finally discovering what really works to have connection in modern relationships using science, simplicity, and soul, our signature program, Rise into Regulation, was born. That's giving so many others in modern, driven relationships back clarity and ease for good. On the podcast today, we're going to dive deep together on all things relationships, business, identity, and leadership. Clarity and ease is at the heart of it all, and we are so happy to be with you so that you can have what you need in connection, mind, body, and soul too. Oof, this is going to be another fun one today. I was chatting with my podcast manager earlier about some things that are on my heart, and I want to talk about something that was sitting on my heart recently about complex conversations, whether it's on a big level, big world things, or the debates and the small conversations that we have at home in our own house. What does it mean to have your voice heard, to have others lean in and be able to kind of ignite change, be able to be a leader in a space where maybe on the surface it doesn't look like there's much room? Or maybe just be able to have your voice heard in a safe way, not in a way where you feel like there's an intense level of risk. And the reason this has been on my heart a lot recently is if you have not been living under a rock, the tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk will be front and center of your mind, whether it's tragic simply because of the loss of life, tragic because you share his viewpoints, or tragic simply because of the divide in opinion, public opinion, how it can really polarize conversations left, right or wrong, conversations about big world issues, about the rights around gun ownership, or, we're getting really, really big in terms of heavy stuff, or even grief. What does grief mean to you? Is it safe? Do you have someone safe to hold you? This has really brought a lot of things front and center for so many people. And I want to pause and honor that. And just also underscore for a moment that this episode is not about taking sides. It's certainly not about shouting my opinion from the rooftop. I'm certainly not afraid to do that when it feels right and I feel like I have value in that space. And if and when there is a season where I feel like that's something I'm going to wade into, I will do it wholeheartedly. But what I'm going to do that with is structure. So what I've learnt through my life, I tend to think of myself as someone quite outspoken. Authenticity is my top value, as you know, if you've been listening to my podcast episodes. And I was taken by surprise, taken aback, and really challenged with this news, let's say in an objective way, when I found out on holiday with my friends as part of my 40th birthday celebration in Bali. So in this beautiful location, there was tragedy unfolding not only on a big world scale, but in many of my friends and family's relationships as well. What did it mean to stay quiet? Was this being cowardly? What did it mean to speak out? Was this being disrespectful and polarizing? What did it mean to have any feelings about this at all? It's not my family. It's not my friends. Am I allowed to have emotions and feelings and experiences about this? And if I do, does that mean I'm deeply enmeshed with the values of this person? And if I say anything at all, is it like stepping on a landmine? Meanwhile, here I am in paradise, in the sunshine, having these complex feelings and emotions and taking the time to analyze what's really happening in my body and my interpretation of what this has meant not only for me, but for my community, for my listeners, for my audience, where is my place within this complex conversation? And what I always say when it comes to big conversations, unless someone is on fire, take your time. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it feels like something is urgent, something is real and present, and a comment must be made, a stance must be made. You must stamp your signature on something urgently. I'm not saying that there's not times where that's not true. And also through the seasons of my life where I've been deeply involved in small and big world issues in my community, in my country, in my family, in my home. And what I have learnt first and foremost is to pause. And if you have time, take the time. The reason I say this is because we are complex creatures and we have our values, our moral code, we have a relationship with different parts of ourselves, and we're also deeply entwined with the world and the relationships around us. So if you can take the time, take the time. The first thing I would do with big world situations like this, or big things that shake your world as well, on a small level, on a more intimate level, is take your time. If there is time, take your time. Your amygdala, your nervous system, your fight, flight, fawn, freeze response will be telling you act, move, say something, do something right now. And I want to encourage you to honor that feeling and that emotion, particularly with big things, and also honor your nervous system. And if you have time, it's okay. Take a breath. Honor the experience that's happening in your body and take your time. The reason why I say that is because this episode is all about how to get your needs met, how to communicate, and how to navigate complex conversations on a big and small world scale in a way that gets your needs met. And it's not easy. We're all raised with this idea that be who you want to be your true self, let your light shine. And I agree with that. In fact, I think that is the root of finding your purpose, is having a deep and authentic relationship with your own self and finding a way and a path that feels right for you to share that and your gifts with the world, because you are a gift and you are a unique gift in this world, and your voice is very much needed. And what the challenge is with big and small world issues is that there has been a gap, an ever widening gap, an ever widening loss around the art of nuance, the art of complex conversation and complex debate management. And I think we just need to take a second every once in a while and get curious about what our current skill set is to navigate how human brains operate when it comes to conflict. How can we show up when it feels like the world is ending, get our needs met, help steer our own micro and macro world in a way that helps make the world a better place, even if it's just to be a kinder place? And how do we do that in a way that is effective, not just loud? And I say that as someone who's comfortable being loud when I need to be. But I have learned through study and through life experience that there are hacks and there are ways to communicate that don't dampen your voice, that don't quieten your voice, that don't bow down to the opposing viewpoint of your own, but instead use neuroscience and use soul to really remember that we're all human beings and that there's so much about us all that is the same, and that there's shared common ground. And if we find our way back there, then problem solving can happen instead of an increase in the divide. Whether it's an increase in the divide at home, in your family, or in the world, I think we can all acknowledge and we can all recognize that The risk and the challenge with a lot of big world conversations at the moment is that whether it's because of AI, whether it's because of our own echo chambers and social media, whether it's because we're getting better and better at compartmentalizing and boundarying, the space for complex conversation seems to be reducing instead of expanding. And I think that there is a beautiful, important, and valuable space in the middle where it's okay to deeply cherish your own values and create room for them to be heard and create room for the other person's opinion to be heard in a way that uses neuroscience to perhaps open the door for them to open their horizons as well. And who knows, you may learn something that's not in conflict with your values, but that may in fact allow richer, more effective problem solving. Most of us think that debates are won with the sharpest argument or the loudest voice. But the real hack, the thing that actually shifts conversations, even in heated ones, is curiosity. And this is why. When we feel attacked in a conversation, the amygdala part of our brain, so two tiny almond-shaped organs in the base of our brain, what happens with this is it fires up like an alarm. And that part of the nervous system, this part of the nervous system doesn't care about logic or nuance. It doesn't care if you are right. It doesn't care if the other person is right. It can recognize that logically there's different things that may be able to be considered, but when the amygdala is on, that's not what's important. What is most important is survival. Fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. It means the minute we feel cornered, we stop listening and start defending. I'm going to say that again. It means the moment we feel cornered, we stop listening and start defending. So if that's activated, the amygdala in someone else is activated, they stop listening and start defending. Curiosity does something sneaky though. So when we ask, tell me more, what makes you see it that way? Or even something like, that's interesting, where did that idea come from? It signals something to the brain. It signals that we are not under immediate threat. This is what lowers cortisol, quiets the amygdala, and it gives something else a chance. It gives the prefrontal cortex, so that's our higher reasoning center, space to come back online. Now, if your prefrontal cortex is online and the prefrontal cortex is someone else, that's when true dialogue becomes possible. Now, what most people miss, whether it's in marriages, families, boardrooms, or big world issues, is that fights usually aren't about who's right or wrong. They are about safety. If my brain doesn't feel safe, I can't stay open to your perspective, no matter how brilliant it is. Okay? So, what we need, if we have a strong perspective, a strong opinion, something that's important, valuable, something to offer to the world, our relationships, the people around us, our families, what we need are neuroscience-backed practical ways to show curiosity without losing the fight. Because I think that's a fear for many people. If I show curiosity to the other person, I am allowing them to walk all over me. When that's not the case, we are creating an environment for their nervous system to downregulate. And I highly recommend somatic tools because 93% of communication is nonverbal. Somatic tools allow you to lower your tone of voice, speak slower, and allow your body to communicate safety, security, confidence without you losing the debate simply because of a tone of voice or your body language, saying something that you never intended in the first place. So here are some neuroscience-backed hacks to show curiosity without losing the fight. So the first thing I would experiment with is asking for the story, not just the stance. So instead of, why would you think that? Switch it out a little bit. I would try, what led you to that perspective? What's the story behind that idea? Now, what this does is it invites context. Context keeps your brain out of attack mode and theirs out of defense mode. So it's creating a room for new ideas to grow and form. Number 2, get specific, not vague. So curiosity doesn't mean surrender. It means precision. So something like, when you say it always feels this way, can you give me an example? Ask for specifics, because specifics shrink the amygdala's panic, because your brain can work with data and kind of narrow down on something instead of just worrying about a threat. Number 3, you can use help me understand as a power move. So what neuroscience shows us is that when you say, help me understand, the other person's brain interprets that as collaboration, not competition. That lowers their defensiveness and actually gives you more ground to stand on. Number 4, you can mirror without agreeing. So repeating back a key phrase, it shows that you are listening. You can say something like, so what I'm hearing is this feels like a fairness issue to you. This regulates both brains. It doesn't mean you agree. It just means you're steering the nervous system back to safety, yours and theirs. And when you're in safety, that's where openness, that's where growth, that's where connection, that's where understanding comes from. Number 5, you can timestamp your curiosity. So you can add in language that signals strength. Something like, before I respond, I want to fully get what you mean. This tells the other person that you're not folding. You're choosing to gather the information before putting your own case forward. 6, you can reframe curiosity as a strategy, not softness. So curiosity keeps your prefrontal cortex online. And remember, prefrontal cortex, this is logic, creativity, empathy, and it's for them as well. If you skip it, you are literally fighting with the least intelligent part of your brain. So curiosity it's not agreeing, it's not losing, it's upgrading the battlefield. Curiosity can be the most magical blessing when it comes to any kind of conflict resolution, when it comes to expressing your perspective. It sets the scene and it creates an environment for new ideas to grow. It's fertilizer for the soil. Don't scorch the earth before trying to grow a forest. Curiosity is a bridge. It's not passive and it's not agreement. It's the willingness to say, I want to understand before I respond. And neuroscience shows that this one little shift literally changes the chemical cocktail in the conversation, from adrenaline and defensiveness to oxytocin and openness. So the next time you are in a tricky conversation, remember that the goal isn't to win, it's to keep the other person's brain open and your own. And curiosity is the hack that can do exactly that. And when sometimes the world can feel big and scary, when sometimes relationships can feel big and scary, when sometimes it feels like the person you are in conversation with is from another planet, I get it. I really, really do. And I will say, for most issues, I'm at a stage in my life where I've been on both sides of the fence too. And it's a blessing, but it's scary to change your opinion. It's scary to grow. It's scary for anyone, particularly if your opinion and your perspective is deeply linked with your identity. This is who I am. So when we go into conversations where we are aware that it is a bit of a minefield, just keep that in your pocket. Challenging or asking others to open up their mind a little can be scary for other people. And even the possibility of doing that is frightening. So in a world where we are increasingly invited to have a polarizing perspective, to make our stance and stake our ground, I lovingly invite you to be a rebel in a new way. Create a little room for our world to be a little more connected. There are some crazy perspectives and opinions and people out there, and so much of what makes us human is what connects us too. And we all have the capacity to grow and learn, even if it's just to grow and learn and have compassion for the perspective that perhaps we didn't understand before, but because we have that perspective and because we have that compassion now, we are able to speak in a way that allows others to lean in instead of push us away. And if you feel a level of intensity about any topic, even an incredibly important and vital one, and it feels like you're in a season where you must fight for what is right, I will be the first one in your corner. I will. Even if I don't agree with you, I will be the first one in your corner. Come and talk to me about it. I can't wait to hear. And also be a part of the new revolution, which is to disagree can be to connect, which is if I don't understand, I am still curious, which is even if somebody says no and it seems impossible and the world is set, you get to be a part of the quiet revolution that says, not yet. No, thank you. I'm still listening, I'm still learning, and I still have something to say. And I'm ready for my turn, and I have listened, and I have fertilized the soil. And so I'm ready to step into this space. I'm okay if it doesn't look perfect. I invite you to explore that, and I'm here with you. I'm holding your hand every step of the way, and I value you. And I want to thank you for being here and listening to this stretchy episode. And I encourage you to take the conversation a bit further. Come and hang out with me on Instagram. My link is in the show notes. I want to talk about what's big for you right now. And if you have any questions about a difficult conversation that's coming up for you, I'm here. I'd love to talk about it more. If there's something that you want to go deeper on this podcast as well, let me know. I'd love to. And I promise you, in my next season of really stepping into the ring of a particular topic that I have my hand on my heart with, I promise to bring you along for the journey too. And taking time and listening is a strength of its own. And if you are in that season too of just taking your time and listening and finding the opportunity and the blessing to learn, then I celebrate you as well. And when you are ready to step in, know that I'm here for you to help you and support you as well. And that there's bravery in both seasons. And what I encourage you to do is just stretch yourself a little. When you're ready to step in and offer a perspective, be willing to listen to. And remember that one of my final notes, social media isn't everything. Social media gives us an echo chamber. Any social media. So does AI. Be careful with ChatGPT. There's a whole world out there, and I encourage you to remember and have a relationship with your local representatives too. They are people. They're real people just like you. And sometimes we feel like we're shouting to a million people, but our local representatives who know exactly what to do and how to change it, they're not really getting an understanding of that. There's no rush, there's no urgency, and you don't have to go reset your country or your world overnight. But explore safety around the fact that you have influence and you have impact, and that when you regulate and you show curiosity, there's no need to fear pushback or ramifications or consequences that are past your capacity when you are also part of the world that is creating safety around complex conversations again. And I hope and I pray that I've helped you get a little bit more comfortable with that today. Thank you so much for being here. Come and follow the Connection podcast if you're not already to get updates on new episodes. And come and hang out with me on Instagram anytime. It is such a joy to be here with you. Big love.